My name is Talia House, and I'm 34 years old. 8 months ago, my parents told me there was no space for me in their 5 bedroom house after I lost my job. They literally changed the locks while I was at a job interview. Today, those same parents are demanding I hand over the keys to my house, the one I bought with my own money, because my brother deserves it more. They even broke in while I was at work and started measuring rooms for his kids. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Because what I'm about to share isn't just about entitled family members trying to steal property. It's about how I went from living in a van in a Walmart parking lot to owning my own home, and how my family's greed led to their very public downfall at my grandfather's 85th birthday party. Let me take you back to where this all started. I'd been working as a senior accountant at Morrison & Associates for 6 years when they suddenly filed for bankruptcy. No warning, no severance. Just a Friday afternoon email saying don't come back Monday. I had enough savings for maybe 2 months of expenses, but the job market was brutal. After 3 weeks of rejections, I swallowed my pride and called my parents. Mom, I hate to ask, but could I stay with you guys for a few weeks? Just until I find something? There was this long pause, then she said, "Oh, honey, you know we'd love to help, but we just don't have the space." I actually laughed. "Mom, you have 5 bedrooms, it's just you and Dad now." Well, Michael and the kids need somewhere to stay when they visit. Michael, my older brother, lived 15 minutes away. His visits were Sunday dinners. He had a 4 bedroom house with 2 rooms they used for storage. But somehow, my parents kept 2 guest rooms empty just in case he needed them. What about the basement? I'll sleep on the couch. That's Michael's man cave when he comes over. You understand, right? Family has to think about the future. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was family too. Or at least, I thought I was. 2 days later, I came back from a job interview to find my apartment building's locksmith changing my locks. The landlord had given me 30 days, but my parents had called him, pretending to help, and somehow convinced him I'd already moved out. My own parents had accelerated my eviction. That night, I slept in my 2004 Honda CR-V in a Walmart parking lot, wondering how the people who raised me could be so cruel. Living in your car teaches you things no one should have to learn, like how to shower at Planet Fitness at 5 a.m. when it's least crowded, how to make a jar of peanut butter last a week, how to park at different Walmarts so security doesn't notice you're living there. Every morning at 5 a.m., I'd wake up in that freezing van and tell myself, this is temporary. My back ached from sleeping curled up in the back seat. My professional clothes hung from the car's grab handles, wrinkled despite my best efforts. I'd apply makeup in the gym bathroom mirror, practicing my interview smile while other early morning exercisers pretended not to notice my entire toiletry collection spread across the counter. I worked 3 part-time jobs, morning shifts at Starbucks, afternoon data entry, weekend retail at Target. 60 hours a week, saving every penny. Rice and beans became my entire diet. I sold everything valuable I owned except my laptop and one interview suit. My family? Radio silence. Well, except for my sister Sarah, who'd occasionally text asking if I'd found a real job yet, always adding how her husband Kevin just got another promotion. 6 months in, I'd saved $8,000. Not enough for an apartment deposit in our city, but I kept going. My car's heating died in December. I layered every piece of clothing I owned and still woke up seeing my breath. Then, on a particularly freezing January morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. House, this is Peterson and Associates law firm. I'm calling about your grandmother Eleanor's estate. My grandmother had passed 2 weeks ago. My parents hadn't even told me about the funeral, but she hadn't forgotten me. She'd left me $30,000 and a note. For my independent granddaughter, build something they can never take away. That $30,000, combined with my savings, was exactly enough for a down payment on a small 2-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy. 1,100 square feet built in the 70s, needed some paint. But it had good bones, a working furnace, and most importantly, It was mine. The closing day was surreal. The realtor handed me the keys, and I just stood in my empty living room, crying. After 8 months of parking lots and gym showers, I had a door I could lock, a bathroom I didn't have to share, a kitchen where I could cook real meals. I spent the first night on an air mattress, staring at my ceiling, and posted one photo on Facebook, just the keys with the caption, "New chapter." Within an hour, my phone exploded. Mom: "Congratulations, sweetie. When can we come see it?" Dad: "So proud of you. Send the address." Sarah: "OMG, how did you afford this? Kevin and I should visit." Michael: "Nice. Kids would love to see Aunt Talia's new place." 8 months of silence when I was homeless, and suddenly everyone wanted to reconnect. I should have seen the red flags, but I was riding high on my accomplishment. I thought maybe owning something respectable would finally make me worthy of being family again. I sent them the address and invited them for dinner that Sunday. Spent my last $100 on groceries to make Mom's pot roast recipe. Set the table with paper plates. I didn't own real dishes yet, but arranged them nicely. They showed up 40 minutes late, walked through my front door, and Mom's first words weren't "congratulations" or "I'm proud of you." She said, "Oh, this is much too big for just one person." That first visit set the tone for everything that followed. While I gave them the tour, Michael kept measuring rooms with his eyes, commenting how his kids' toys would fit perfectly in the second bedroom. Sarah criticized everything: the dated kitchen, the small bathroom, the lack of central air, while simultaneously asking invasive questions about my mortgage payments. "So how much did Grandma leave you exactly?" Sarah asked, running her finger along my countertop like checking for dust. "Enough for the down payment," I said, keeping it vague. Dad wandered around, tapping walls. "Good bones. With some work, this could be worth double. Michael, you should see the basement. Perfect for your workout equipment." "Dad, Michael has his own house." "Yeah, but it's getting crowded with the kids," Michael said, opening my closets without asking. "This would be perfect for my home office. Kids could have the whole upstairs at our current place." They stayed 3 hours discussing my house like I wasn't there. "Mom even suggested family dinners every Sunday since you have the space now." The same woman who said she had no room for me wanted to commandeer my dining room weekly. As they left, Michael made a joke that wasn't really a joke. "Hey, if you ever get tired of all this maintenance, we could always swap. Your little place for our big one. Kids need a good neighborhood like this." Everyone laughed. I forced a smile, but something cold settled in my stomach. 2 days later, I installed a security system. The sales guy asked if I'd had break-ins in the neighborhood. "No," I told him. "I just want to be prepared." He showed me the camera features, how everything backed up to the cloud. "This model even works if someone cuts your power," he said. I bought the premium package. Over the next few weeks, the visits escalated. My family would show up unannounced, sometimes when I wasn't home. I'd find evidence they'd been in my yard, checking on things. Michael left his kids' bikes in my garage, temporarily. Sarah stored boxes in my basement just for a few days, that turned into weeks. Then came the comments at every family gathering. "Talia doesn't even have a boyfriend. Why does she need 2 bedrooms? Seems selfish, one person in a family-sized house. Michael's kids deserve a safe neighborhood like that." The turning point was when I came home early from work with a migraine and found my mother in my kitchen, making copies of my house keys. "Mom, what are you doing?" "Oh, just making spares in case of emergency. You should have given us copies already." "I don't want anyone having copies." She looked hurt. "We're your parents. What if something happens to you?" "Then you can call a locksmith." That night, I called my friend James, who worked in real estate law. "Document everything," he said after I explained the situation. "Every visit, every comment, every incident. And Talia, change your locks tomorrow." You think they'd actually try something? I think people who feel entitled to your success will always escalate. The question is how far you'll let them go. I changed the locks the next morning. The locksmith found evidence that someone had already tried to duplicate my keys. The marks were fresh. My hands shook as I signed his invoice. That afternoon, Mom called. Our keys don't work. What keys? Silence. Then, you changed the locks? Your own family? My house, my locks. We'll see about that, she said, and hung up. I should have known those weren't empty words. Can you believe my own family would do this to me? After everything I went through, living in a van, working 3 jobs, finally achieving my dream, they wanted to take it all away. If you've ever dealt with entitled family members who think they deserve what you've earned, hit that like button and share your story in the comments. Your support means everything. Now, let me tell you what happened when they actually tried to take my house by force. 3 days after I changed the locks, my parents showed up with what they called a family proposal. Dad had actually prepared a presentation folder, like this was a business meeting. We've been thinking, Mom began, settling into my couch uninvited. This arrangement could work better for everyone. Dad opened his folder, revealing printed Zillow estimates and floor plans. You move back with us. We've cleaned out the basement, and Michael takes over the mortgage here. You'd live rent-free, save money, everyone wins. I'm not giving Michael my house. Not giving, Dad corrected, transferring. He'd assume the mortgage, take over payments. You'd actually come out ahead financially without the burden. The burden of owning my own home? Be reasonable, Mom said. You don't need all this space. Michael has 2 kids who need a good school district. You're being selfish. Selfish? I was homeless for 8 months while you had empty bedrooms. That was different. We were thinking of Michael's family needs. And now you're thinking of them again, using my house. Dad's tone shifted, harder now. Your grandmother's money paid for this down payment. That was family money. We all have a stake in this property. Grandma left that money to me, specifically to me. For the family's benefit, Mom insisted. She'd want her great-grandchildren in a safe neighborhood. Then Michael can buy his own house. With what money? Dad snapped. Not everyone got a windfall from Grandma. There it was, the real resentment. They weren't just entitled, they were angry that Grandma had chosen me. Get out, I said quietly. Excuse me? Get out of my house, now. They left, but Dad turned at the door. This isn't over. Family takes care of family, Talia, one way or another. The next phase was psychological warfare. Sarah joined the campaign, texting me daily about how I was tearing the family apart and breaking Mom's heart. She'd send photos of Michael's kids with captions like, "They deserve better than their cramped room," and "Shame their aunt doesn't care." Then came the family group chat ambush. 20 relatives suddenly discussing how sad it was that I wouldn't help my brother. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years were weighing in on my selfishness. Aunt Patricia. Family property should benefit the whole family. Uncle Ron. Seems like Talia's forgotten where she came from. Even my sweet cousin Emma. Maybe there's a compromise? Michael really needs this. Sarah had crafted the narrative perfectly. I was the single, childless aunt hoarding resources while poor Michael's children suffered in their 4-bedroom house with a pool. The pressure intensified when Mom called crying one night. Your father's blood pressure is through the roof because of this stress. Is your pride worth his health? His stress isn't my responsibility, Mom. We did everything for you growing up, and then kicked me out when I needed you most. That's not how it happened. I have security footage of Dad changing the locks while I was gone. Silence. Then, you're recording us? I'm protecting myself. She hung up. 20 minutes later, I got a text from Michael. We need to talk. Tomorrow, my lawyer will be present. His lawyer? I immediately called James. They're escalating, he said. Can you come by my office tonight? And bring every document. Deed, mortgage papers, the will, everything. As I gathered my papers, I noticed something odd on my security camera app. There was a gap in today's footage. 2 hours missing from when I was at work. Someone had been in my house. I rushed home to find my front door properly locked but everything subtly wrong. Kitchen drawers slightly open, papers on my desk shuffled, my bedroom closet reorganized. They'd been careful, but not careful enough. Michael's cologne lingered in the air. Then I saw it. My spare bedroom had been completely rearranged. My office furniture pushed against walls, my desk replaced with an air mattress. Kids' toys in the corner. They'd actually started moving Michael's things in. I called 911. Someone broke into my house. The dispatcher took my information, and 2 officers arrived within 20 minutes. I showed them the security footage from my backup camera, the one hidden in the smoke detector that my family didn't know about. Clear as day, Michael using a key to enter, Sarah standing watch, my parents carrying in boxes. "Ma'am, do you want to press charges?" Officer Martinez asked. "They're my family," I said, then caught myself. Yes, I do. "We'll need you to come to the station to file a formal report." As we talked, Michael pulled up in his SUV, saw the police cars, and tried to reverse. Officer Martinez's partner flagged him down. "Hey, officers," Michael said, all casual charm. "I'm just here to check on my sister." "With a key?" I asked, holding up the evidence bag where the officers had placed the copy he'd dropped. "You gave me that key." "I changed my locks last week. This is a freshly cut copy." The officers looked at Michael differently now. "Sir, we're going to need you to come to the station." "This is ridiculous. It's a family matter." "Breaking and entering isn't a family matter," Officer Martinez said. "It's a crime." Michael called our parents. Within minutes, they were all there, shouting about family loyalty while the neighbors watched from their windows. The police intervention should have been their wake-up call, but my family doubled down instead. They hired an actual lawyer, some friend of Dad's from his golf club, and tried to claim partial ownership based on Grandma's money being family assets. James laughed when he saw their filing. "This is desperation disguised as legal action," he said. "They have no case, but they're hoping you'll cave to avoid the family drama." "What do you recommend?" "Document everything, save every text, record any calls if they consent, keep that security footage backed up in multiple places." He paused. "There's something else. Your grandfather's 85th birthday is coming up, right? In 2 weeks. The whole extended family will be there. Your parents are planning something. I've seen this pattern before. They'll try to use the public setting to pressure you. Make it seem like a done deal in front of everyone." He was right. Mom had already called about the party, insisting I attend, to show we're still family, and mentioning they'd reserved the big ballroom at the Marriott. She'd even assigned me a seat at the main table, which was unusual. I was usually relegated to the cousins' table. "Be prepared," James advised. "But also, this could be an opportunity." "For what?" "To set the record straight, publicly, with witnesses." He smiled. "I might just happen to be dining at that same hotel that night. You know, coincidentally." I spent the next week preparing. Downloaded all my security footage. Organized every threatening text. Recorded 3 more calls where my parents demanded I do the right thing for Michael. Even got a certified copy of Grandma's will, highlighting the part where she specifically left the money to me alone. The invitation came in the mail, elegant and formal. Someone had handwritten at the bottom, "Family announcements to be made." I knew exactly what they were planning. The week before Grandpa's party, I turned into a detective. Every piece of evidence meticulously organized in folders, physical and digital. The security footage of the break-in, the threatening voicemails, the texts demanding I surrender my house, screenshots of the family group chat pile on. Everything backed up to 3 different cloud services and a physical drive in my bank's safety deposit box. James helped me prepare a timeline showing how I'd bought the house entirely legally with my own funds and inheritance. We even had a notarized statement from the estate lawyer confirming Grandma's money was mine alone, no strings attached. "Your family's going to claim emotional ownership," James warned. "That because it's Grandma's money, everyone deserves a say. Be ready for that manipulation." Michael made one last attempt, showing up at my work. "Talia, let's be reasonable. Just come to dinner." We can work this out like adults. With your lawyer present? He's just there to help facilitate. No. You're going to regret this. Mom and Dad have a plan. At Grandpa's party, they're going to. He caught himself. Going to what? Just don't embarrass yourself. Accept the inevitable. That night, I called James. They're definitely planning something public. Good. I've already made my reservation. I'll be at table 12, close enough to help if needed. Bring everything we've prepared. The morning of the party, I dressed carefully. Professional blazer, conservative dress, Grandma's pearl necklace, the one she'd left me that Mom had tried to claim. I packed my evidence folder in a leather briefcase, the same one I'd used for job interviews during my homeless months. My phone buzzed. Sarah. Hope you're ready to do the right thing tonight. The whole family's counting on you. I texted back. I'm ready. I'd never been more ready for anything in my life. The Marriott ballroom was spectacular. Gold tablecloths, crystal centerpieces, a stage with professional lighting. 50 relatives, Dad's business associates, Mom's church friends, everyone who mattered in their social circle. I arrived exactly on time, briefcase in hand. Mom rushed over, air kissing my cheek. Talia, you look beautiful tonight. This is your special day too. My special day? Well, Grandpa's of course, but you'll see. Her smile was predatory. Leave that bag at coat check, dear. I'll keep it with me, thanks. She led me to the main table where Grandpa sat in his wheelchair, sharp as ever at 85. He squeezed my hand. Talia, sweetheart, heard you bought a house? I did, Grandpa. Good girl. Eleanor would be proud. He meant Grandma. Something flickered in his eyes. Did he know what was planned? The seating was strategic. Me between my parents, Michael directly across, Sarah to his right, trapped in a family box. But I caught James at table 12, casually chatting with some guests. He gave me the slightest nod. Dinner was surf and turf, conversations flowing. Several relatives complimented my dress, mentioned they'd heard about my house. Each time, Mom would interject with, "Yes, it's wonderful how family helps family." As dessert arrived, Dad stood up, tapping his champagne glass. The room quieted. Before we toast my father, I want to make a special announcement about family legacy and taking care of each other. My phone, hidden in my lap, started recording. Mom stood beside him, beaming. As you all know, family means everything to us, and tonight we want to celebrate a beautiful act of generosity. Michael was already smiling, preparing to look surprised. Sarah had her phone out, ready to capture his reaction. This was it. Dad raised his glass higher, his voice carrying across the ballroom. Family takes care of family. That's the house way. And tonight, we're proud to announce that our daughter Talia has agreed to pass on her grandmother Eleanor's generous gift to where it's needed most. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. I sat perfectly still, my phone recording everything. As the eldest son with a growing family, Dad continued, Michael deserves stability, so Talia will be transferring her recently purchased house to her brother, ensuring Eleanor's money benefits the next generation. The room burst into applause. Michael stood up, acting shocked. What? Talia, I don't know what to say. This is too generous. Thank you, sis, he said loudly, reaching across the table for a hug I didn't return. My kids will have such a better life because of you. Sarah was already fake crying. This is what family is about. Talia, you're amazing for doing this. Relatives called out congratulations. Someone shouted, Speech from Talia! Mom pulled me up by my elbow, whispering, Just smile and nod, don't make a scene. I stood there, 50 pairs of eyes on me, my family's trap sprung perfectly. They'd announced it as done, knowing I'd look petty and selfish if I denied it now. The social pressure was suffocating. Uncle Ron started clapping again. That's a real woman, putting family first. Aunt Patricia dabbed her eyes. Eleanor would be so proud. So, Michael's wife was already discussing paint colors with Sarah. My cousins were congratulating Michael on his new house. Dad handed me the microphone, his grip tight on my wrist. Say something nice, Talia. I took the microphone, my other hand reaching for my briefcase. I smiled, calm, controlled, professional. I do have something to say about family values. Family helps family, I said into the microphone, my voice steady. That's what we've always said, isn't it? That's right, Mom called out, still beaming. Michael raised his champagne glass. To the best sister anyone could ask for. So generous, Sarah added loudly. Giving up her house for Michael's children. That's true love. The crowd murmured approval. Someone started another round of applause. Yes, I continued, letting them settle down. Family helps family, which is why I'm confused about something. Mom's smile flickered slightly. See, 8 months ago, when I lost my job and needed help, my family, this same loving family, told me there was no room for me, despite having 5 empty bedrooms. The applause died completely. When I was sleeping in my car in Walmart parking lots, showering at Planet Fitness, eating peanut butter for dinner, where was this family help then? Dad grabbed for the microphone. I stepped back. And now that I've bought a house, with my own money, my own credit, my own name on the deed, suddenly family helps family? Talia, Michael stood up. Let's not do this here. Oh, but you already did this here. You announced that I'm giving you my house in front of everyone. Cousin Emma called out. Wait, you're not giving him the house? Of course not. Why would I give away my legal property to someone who watched me be homeless and did nothing? The room was dead silent now. Grandpa, I noticed, was leaning forward with interest. Mom tried damage control. There's been a misunderstanding. No misunderstanding, I said clearly. You tried to publicly manipulate me into giving up my home, but I have something everyone should see first. This was it, the moment they thought they had won. In front of our entire extended family, they were publicly stealing my home and expecting me to smile and take it. But I had spent weeks preparing for exactly this moment. If you think you know what happens next, leave your guess in the comments. And if you've ever had to stand up to your entire family, hit that subscribe button, because what I did next changed everything. Let me show you how I turned their public humiliation into their worst nightmare. Before we celebrate this generous gift that isn't happening, I said, pulling out my laptop, everyone should know the full story. The Marriott's AV tech, whom I'd tipped $100 earlier to be ready, connected my laptop to the ballroom's projection screen. I'd told him I had a birthday video for Grandpa. This is from my home security system, dated last Tuesday. The screen lit up with crystal clear footage. Michael using a copied key to enter my house. My parents carrying boxes. Sarah standing lookout. The timestamp clearly visible. Gasps rippled through the room. That's breaking and entering, someone whispered. They broke into your house? Aunt Patricia's voice was shocked. The video continued. Audio now, my mother's voice from my kitchen camera. Once we move Michael in, she can't do anything about it. Possession is 9/10 of the law. Dad's voice. She was always too independent. This will teach her to need family. I clicked to the next file. These are text messages from the family group chat. The screen filled with the coordinated harassment. 20 relatives could see their own words calling me selfish, demanding I give up my house, threatening to cut me off. Uncle Ron slowly sat down, his face red. And here, I continued, is the police report from when they broke in. Yes, I filed charges. Michael stepped forward. Talia, stop this. Like you stopped when I was homeless? Grandpa's voice cut through the tension. Robert, he said to my father, you told me Talia offered the house to Michael. Dad, I can explain. You lied to me. You lied to everyone here. The room was in chaos now, but I wasn't done. There's more, I said, clicking to an audio file. This is a voicemail from 3 days ago. Dad's voice filled the ballroom through the speakers. You will sign that house over to Michael, or you're dead to this family. You owe us for raising you. Time to pay up. The gathering of 50 became absolutely silent. You could hear the air conditioning humming. End this call from yesterday. I clicked play. Mom's voice, shrill and threatening. We know where you work. We know your boss. Don't make us ruin your career over a stupid house. Family comes first, or you'll have nothing. At table 12, James stood up. Excuse me, everyone. I should introduce myself. He walked to the front, every eye following him. James Patterson, Patterson and Associates law firm. I specialize in property law and family estate disputes. I'm here as Ms. House's legal representative. This is a family party, Dad protested. Where you publicly announce the illegal transfer of my client's property, James said calmly. I have 47 witnesses to attempted coercion and fraud. He pulled out his own folder. This is a certified copy of Eleanor House's will, showing the inheritance was left solely to Talia House. This is the property deed, in Talia's name only. This is a cease and desist order against the House family for harassment and attempted theft. Sarah's husband Kevin suddenly stood up. Wait, you all told me Talia agreed to this. We had it handled, Sarah snapped at him. Handled? This is insane. Kevin was backing away from the table. You're committing crimes. Michael's wife grabbed their kids. We're leaving. Michael, I told you this was wrong. Baby, wait. But she was already heading for the exit, their confused children in tow. Grandpa wheeled himself forward, his voice commanding despite his age. Robert, Linda, Michael, Sarah, explain yourselves. Now. Dad tried to salvage something. Dad, we were just trying to help Michael. By stealing from Talia? After you left her homeless? We didn't leave her homeless, Mom protested. She chose to leave. I clicked to another video, security footage from my old apartment building. This is you, Mom, talking to my landlord, convincing him I'd already moved out while I was at a job interview. The extended family was in uproar now. Cousins were leaving their tables, getting closer to see the screen. Several were recording on their phones. My God, Linda, Aunt Patricia said. Your own daughter? You don't understand, Mom said desperately. She's always been difficult, independent. So you punished her for not needing you? Grandpa's voice was ice. Eleanor would be disgusted. She left that money to Talia specifically because she saw this favoritism. James stepped forward again. Mr. and Mrs. House, Mr. Michael House, Mrs. Sarah Morrison, you have two options. Sign this agreement to cease all contact with my client and drop any claim to her property, or we proceed with criminal charges for breaking and entering, harassment, attempted fraud, and conspiracy to commit theft. This is blackmail, Michael shouted. No, it's consequences, I said, finally finding my full voice. This is my house. I bought it. I own it. End of discussion. Sarah's phone suddenly buzzed repeatedly. She looked at it and went pale. Kevin? Kevin's texting. Oh, God. She showed the screen to Michael, divorce papers. Apparently, Kevin had been documenting their scheme too, and wanted out before he became legally liable. The birthday party for Grandpa had become a complete disaster, and everyone knew exactly who to blame. James laid out the documents on the main table like a card dealer. Mr. House, Mrs. House, these cease and desist orders are effective immediately. Michael House, this is a restraining order. You're not to come within 500 feet of Talia's property. You can't do this, Dad said, but his voice had lost all authority. Sign here, or we proceed with criminal charges, James repeated. The breaking and entering alone carries up to 3 years in prison. Michael grabbed the papers. This is insane. Over a house? Sign it, his wife called from the doorway. Sign it, or I'm taking the kids to my mother's tonight, permanently. The room watched as my family, one by one, signed the documents. Each signature was witnessed by 3 relatives James had asked to step forward, including Grandpa, who signed with a firm hand. There's one more matter, James announced. The attempted fraud announced tonight, claiming Talia had agreed to transfer her property, in front of witnesses, some of whom are mandatory reporters for their professions. I noticed Michael's boss, Mr. Harrison, was at table 6. He'd heard everything. Michael, Mr. Harrison called out, we need to talk Monday morning. This raises serious ethical concerns about your position in financial services. Michael went white. Sir, this is just a family misunderstanding. You attempted to defraud your sister of property in public. That's not a misunderstanding. Sarah was crying now, real tears this time. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen, I asked. With me quietly giving up everything I worked for? Mom reached for me. Talia, please. James stepped between us. No contact means no contact. Starting now. Security had arrived. Apparently, someone had called them when voices were raised. They stood by, waiting. I think it's time you all left, Grandpa said firmly. The exodus was brutal to watch. My parents, who'd entered like royalty, shuffled out with security escorts. Mom was sobbing, whether from shame or anger I couldn't tell. Dad kept muttering about family loyalty to anyone who'd listen, but people actively stepped away from him. Michael's marriage imploded in real time. His wife had already called an Uber telling him, I warned you this was wrong. I'm done enabling your family's toxicity. She left with their kids, who kept asking why everyone was upset at Daddy. But Sarah's breakdown was the most dramatic. Her phone kept pinging with messages from Kevin. Through her tears, she read them aloud. The prenup is void if you commit a crime. My lawyer will be in touch. Talia, please, she begged. Tell Kevin this was all a misunderstanding. I can't lie for you, Sarah. You've ruined everything. No, Grandpa said firmly. You ruined everything, all of you. As they left, relatives began approaching me. Some apologized for their group chat messages. Others shared their own stories of family financial abuse. Cousin Emma hugged me tightly. I had no idea what they were doing to you. I'm so sorry. Uncle Ron shuffled over, embarrassed. I owe you an apology. We only heard their version. That's why I had to show the truth, I said simply. The party continued without them, subdued but somehow warmer. Grandpa called me over, took my hand. Eleanor knew, he said quietly. She saw how they treated you. That's why she made sure that money went only to you. She'd be proud of how you stood up for yourself. Mr. Harrison approached before leaving. Ms. House, we have an opening in our accounting department. If you're interested, call my office Monday. Sometimes losing your family means finding your worth. The fallout was swift and merciless. By Monday morning, the story had spread through every social circle my parents inhabited. Mom's church friends were praying for her, but stopped inviting her to events. Dad's golf buddies suddenly had full foursomes. Their carefully cultivated reputation as the perfect family was destroyed. Michael's professional life crumbled. Mr. Harrison placed him on administrative leave pending an ethics review. Word got out. Who wants a financial advisor who tried to steal his sister's house? Within 2 weeks, he was quietly terminated with a settlement that required his silence but killed his career in finance. Sarah's divorce turned vicious. Kevin had documented everything. Every text where she bragged about getting my house, every conversation planning the theft. She'd hidden assets during their marriage, helping Kevin evade taxes. Now he had leverage. She lost primary custody, got minimal alimony, and had to move back with our parents. The extended family took sides, and most sided with truth. Aunt Patricia organized a real birthday dinner for Grandpa the next week. My parents weren't invited. She told me Mom had called begging for an invitation, claiming they were the victims. Victims of what? Patricia had asked. Talia's vindictiveness. Talia's evidence, you mean? The neighborhood gossip was brutal. Mrs. Chen, from next door to my parents, told me she'd seen them packing boxes. Good riddance, she said. I always knew something was off when they bragged about their successful children, but you were never mentioned. 3 weeks after the party, I received a certified letter. They were selling their house, moving 2 states away to where no one knew their shame. The letter demanded I reconsider for the sake of family. I didn't respond. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. The reconciliation attempts started 6 weeks later. First came Mom's letter through her lawyer. 3 pages of justifications, accusations, and finally, buried at the end, something resembling an apology. We only wanted what was best for the family. Perhaps our methods were wrong. Perhaps? Dad tried a different approach, sending a formal typed letter like a business proposal. He offered to mediate a family healing session with a therapist. The catch? I'd need to drop the restraining orders first. James laughed when I showed him. Classic manipulation. They want access without accountability. Michael sent messages through mutual friends. Tell Talia I'm sorry. I've lost everything. My job, my wife, my kids respect me less. Isn't that punishment enough? It wasn't about punishment. It was about protection. The most pathetic attempt came from Sarah. She created a fake Facebook profile to message me. I'm living in Mom's basement now. Kevin took everything. The kids cry for their dad. You won. Are you happy? Was I happy? No, but I was safe. There's a difference. Even flying monkeys emerged, family friends who just wanted everyone to reconcile. They'd call with speeches about forgiveness, about how life's too short for grudges, about how my parents were suffering enough. They're not suffering consequences, I told one particularly persistent caller. They're suffering exposure. They're mad they got caught, not sorry they did it. Grandpa supported me completely. He'd changed his will, removing them entirely. Fool me once, he said. When Mom found out, she accused me of turning him against them. You did that yourselves, he told her in their last phone call. Through it all, I held firm. Apologies without change are just manipulation wearing a mask. The unexpected message came 3 months later from Michael's daughter, Lily. She was 14, old enough to have her own phone and opinions. Aunt Talia, I know my parents did something bad to you. I saw the videos from Grandpa's party. Someone posted them in our family group chat before Dad made them take it down. I'm sorry for what they did. I stared at the message for an hour before responding. Thank you, Lily. This isn't your fault. Can I ask you something? Was it true you lived in your car? Yes. And my parents knew? I thought carefully before answering. Yes. 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times. Then, that's messed up. I would never do that to family, or anyone. We began texting regularly. Lily and her younger brother James had questions their parents wouldn't answer. Why did Mom leave Dad? Why did we move? Why can't we see Aunt Talia? Michael found out and threatened to take her phone. She told him she'd report him to her school counselor for isolating her from family. Smart kid. Eventually, I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop. Michael's ex-wife, Jennifer, brought them. She hugged me immediately. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner, she said. I knew something was wrong when they kept talking about your house like it was already theirs. The kids were wonderful, funny, smart, nothing like their father's entitlement. James, only 10, said solemnly, Dad says you stole our house, but Mom showed us the papers. It was never ours, was it? Never, I confirmed. Dad lies a lot, he said matter-of-factly. Jennifer and I became friends. She'd protected the kids from the worst of it, but they knew enough. They chose truth over comfortable lies. Sometimes the family you save is the next generation. A year later, my life had transformed completely. The house that nearly tore my family apart had become my sanctuary. I'd painted every room, planted a garden, made it truly mine. The second bedroom became a real office where I ran my freelance accounting business. Clients loved my attention to detail and, ironically, my ethics. Mr. Harrison's job offer had led to a senior position. My boss often said, anyone who can stand up to that kind of pressure has the backbone we need. My experience with financial manipulation made me excellent at spotting fraud. I dated now, something I couldn't do while surviving in my car or fighting my family. David, a fellow accountant, understood boundaries because he'd had his own toxic family experiences. He never pushed me to reconcile because family. The restraining orders held. Once I saw Mom at a grocery store 2 towns over. She started toward me, then saw me pull out my phone and backed away. That's what boundaries look like. Not walls, but lines that protect your peace. Grandpa visited monthly. At 86, he'd say, I'm spending my remaining time with family who acts like family. He'd officially adopted me as his emergency contact, medical proxy, and executor. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The selfish daughter was the only one trusted with his care. Jennifer brought the kids regularly. They did homework at my kitchen table, played in the yard their father had tried to steal. Lily was considering accounting, like Aunt Talia, who doesn't take crap from anyone. My story spread beyond family gossip. A local therapist contacted me. Would I speak to a support group about financial abuse? That led to a blog, then a podcast appearance. Boundaries aren't punishment, I'd tell audiences. They're self-love with teeth, my house, my rules, my life, finally. Looking back now, the journey from that freezing van to my own living room feels surreal. 18 months ago, I was showering at Planet Fitness, rationing peanut butter, wearing the same 3 outfits to job interviews. My family had thrown me away like trash, then tried to steal my redemption when I clawed my way back up. They taught me the most valuable lesson of my life. Family isn't blood. Family is who shows up when you're down, not who appears when you're up. Family doesn't break into your house or ambush you at birthday parties. Family doesn't make you homeless, then demand your home. The house is just a house, 100 square feet of drywall and dreams. But what it represents is everything. Proof that I could survive without them, thrive without their approval, succeed despite their sabotage. They wanted me dependent, grateful for scraps. Instead, I became unbreakable. Do I forgive them? Forgiveness isn't reconciliation. I forgive them for my peace, not their comfort. They're forgiven but not forgotten, and definitely not welcomed back. Some people ask if I regret the public confrontation. Never. Abuse thrives in silence and privacy. They counted on my shame keeping their secrets. Instead, 50 witnesses saw exactly who they were. The truth wasn't revenge, it was freedom. My door is open to those who respected my boundaries. Grandpa, the kids, relatives who apologize genuinely. It's locked forever to those who saw a single woman's success as their opportunity. If you're reading this because your family feels entitled to what you've earned, remember, no is a complete sentence. That doesn't work for me, needs no explanation. Your success isn't their payment for raising you. Sometimes the family you choose is better than the family you're born into. Sometimes it has to be. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've made it this far, you're probably someone who understands the pain of family betrayal and the strength it takes to stand up for yourself. What would you have done in my situation? Would you have forgiven them? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to protect yourself, even from family.